Hey guys, it's Mikko from ML Sound Lab, and yes, we have new Reflex IR packs, and this one is the Damon 60. So a quick recap of what Reflex impulse responses actually are. They are a new modernized impulse response format. Now, if you don't know my previous work, I've been doing impulse responses professionally for like 20 years. If you get an Axe FX, many of the stock cabinets were actually done by me. If you get a Quad Cortex, about half of the stock IRs were made by me. Same goes for many different platforms and things of that sort. However, I've always sort of had a problem with especially processing impulse responses. I don't want to do that. But also I do see problems in impulse responses and traditional guitar cabinets, like using multiple speakers, like using cabinets that really are not specifically designed for miking up, while every modern guitar player is using a mic'd up guitar tone. So, me being a guy that is a geek, reached out to Zilla and Paul from Zilla. We are old friends. And what essentially Paul did was he customized Zilla Fat Baby. So it's a 1x12 cabinet, but it sounds just as huge as a full-on 4x12 Mesa oversized cabinet with just one speaker. And that is awesome. It's very neutral, as flat as possible, doesn't have any of the phasey mid-range stuff, doesn't have an overly rumbly low end, it just sits in the mix perfectly and you have those mids nice and balanced. So this is the Damon 60. This is actually based on the Hesu Demon speaker, so very V30-esque, but I would say much meaner sounding. So Demon, I would say, has a very nasty sound in the dead center position, like almost mean, industrial, evil sounding sound in the dead center position. I wouldn't necessarily use that, but once you go a little bit more, maybe even past the cap edge with a 57, you actually get a very nice, almost hand-drawn, flat, neutral frequency response, something that you many times only get from some of the best V30s on this planet, but it's not the same thing. I would say it's more neutral sounding even, if possible. So this demonstration is the one that you see on our website, and there's no post-processing on any of this, and I can be very transparent about it. I'm using the Block Letter Amped plugin with the impulse response called Genty from the Damon 60 pack. I'm essentially using ML Drums Grit with the default preset, Dead Zone Grit, tiny adjustments there. Then I'm doing some new things with the bass, splitting the lows and the highs, having a little bit of a different saturation for the low end and the high end of the bass. But overall, that is the sound. Let's have a listen to what this Damon 60 actually sounds like in Reflex format. That has to be the meanest demo track I've ever made. It's essentially just a 9/16 on top of 4/4, so it's a polyrhythm that just keeps going on. You can actually hear it very easily if I just kind of loop the guitars. So this is essentially what the guitars are doing. But that going on top of 4/4, so it sounds like this. Would be easier to hear with the drums. So very much old school trends, Periphery 1, sorry Misha, and and Meshuggah, that kind of a style, of gent. Let's be honest, that is what the sound is. And the guitar tracks actually sound pretty damn huge. All I'm really doing is, these are the settings for amp block letter. I'm not even using a noise gate. I'm just boosting this with a very nasty setting on the drive pedal. So I really want to get that clanky sound going on. Then with the fullness of the block letter, it gets a lot darker. So I'm actually lowering the highs and the mids, but then boosting the presence on the block letter. And in the cabinet section, like I already said, I'm using the Genty Mix IR from the Damon 60 pack. So this is the guitar sound. So while that is a very aggressive guitar tone, it's actually very neutral in the mix and very pleasant sounding. It's actually quite high in the mix. With it being so aggressive and neutral, you can actually have it much lower in volume in the mix and it will work perfectly, and that leaves more space for the other instruments to do their thing. So this is kind of the magic of the Reflex IRs. When you have that neutral mid-range, when you don't have any of those masking, nasty mid-range problems, you actually get something that you can have lower in the mix and you will be heard, while other instruments have a lot more space, like the snare can cut, the vocals can cut, you don't have to compromise. So that is the whole purpose of Reflex IRs. I have some lo-fi going on, so it's still the same settings, just doing this kind of narrow, almost like a wah type EQ curve on that lo-fi track. So that is the lo-fi part here. And we actually do have cleans here. So I'm using amp Gemini. That's based on an old twin. And same IR here. So using the Gen Z IR, even for this clean bit. And this perfectly demonstrates that this is not just a metal impulse response. Just have a listen to how beautiful cleans you can get with these impulse responses. Probably one of the coolest, clean, modern guitar sounds I've heard in a long time. And now as far as the bass processing goes, I'm actually not using amped bass for this one. I'm splitting the low and high end, and then compressing the low end with CLA Bluey, then using the saturation knob plugin for adding saturation to the low end. So I want this low end to be kind of almost like synth sounding. It's almost like a synth, and that is the whole purpose of that. And then for the high end of the bass, I'm actually using amp block letter with the same settings essentially as the guitars. Well, not the same settings, but the main purpose here is that it's the same impulse response and it's blending nicely with the guitars. And this is just kind of passing the lows out and just having you with the high end, and then blending that with the low end. Like that. And that is the entire mix. There's really nothing else to it. On the master, I actually have another instance of saturation knob. I'll be using this a lot lately, and I'll be honest, I don't think the saturation of it is anything magic. I think we have a very similar saturation character in our own saturation that we have. I just love the simplicity of having volume controls for that. You know, I can volume match that and just hear exactly what the saturation is doing very easily. Then just using the hardest clipping mode here. I suppose I'm doing 11 LUFS for this one. So almost nothing, like just barely tickling some of the kicks and snares. That's all I'm doing there. So very truthful, very honest, not messing with the sounds at all. That is exactly the sound that you can expect to get if you throw these impulse responses in your sessions. You don't have to mess with them, they just work in the mix. We do have a shorter version of this here also, which you will be hearing in the promotional clips and stories and stuff, because social media, it's 15 seconds now. So this is the 15-second version of this song that you'll be hearing in the promos. This is the life we live in now. And that's it. That's all the time you have. Okay, thank you so much for watching this video. Go check out the other Reflex packs we've also released same time with this one. And there's a lot more information and more of a visual comparison of these new Reflex packs and the older ones, so you have a better understanding of what to expect when you get one of these Reflex packs and why you probably want to get multiple of these. Thank you so much for watching this video. Check the link below, subscribe, do all the stuff that everyone wants you to do, and go get Reflex impulse responses. Bye bye, I've been Mikko. Bye bye.